Great. All right. So my name is Meg Sullivan. I'm the grade 7 ELA teacher, and I also organize the Nature's Classroom trip. And I organized this trip with Michelle Travers, who is the 6th grade science teacher.
Hello.
And so we've been organizing this trip together, I would say at least a decade, but maybe that may be inaccurate. But this trip, Nature's Classroom, has been going on at Fowler School for over 40 years. And so I have gone as a chaperone since I started in Maynard over 20 years ago. And when I was a student in Maynard, I went as well. And I've been organizing the trip for about 15 years, I think. And so the purpose of our meeting tonight is to share with you information about what Nature's Classroom is for the kids and provide you some initial information about the cost as well as the dates. So that way you can begin planning for your child's trip. So as some background information, this has traditionally been a 7th grade trip, this Nature's Classroom trip. During the pandemic, we had to cancel the trip in that 7th grade year for some students' 7th grade year. However, as a district, we decided that this trip was so important that we didn't want any grade to miss out on the experience. And so we moved the trip to the 8th grade year. But as you may know, if you have an 8th grade student, that the 8th grade is a busy year. And so we wanted to try to get it back into 7th grade because we think it's a great opportunity for kids in 7th grade because it's such like a important moment of growth for them. And so this year we brought our 8th graders in November of 2024, and we're bringing our current 7th graders in the spring of 2025. And we will bring your 7th graders in the fall of 2025. And then ideally continue that tradition for many more years to come. So we go to Groton, Mass, and we go to the location, which is Groton Wood Camp. And our dates for that trip will be Monday, November 17th through Friday, November 21st. So that is a full week of school. We try to make sure that the school calendar comes out so we can verify that it's a full week. So it's a full 5 days for this experience. So one of the reasons we love Nature's Classroom is that it offers unique opportunities outside the classroom, just things that we cannot do for students on a regular basis inside the walls of Fowler School. And it's an unplugged week, and it's about experiencing as much as you can and learning through those experiences. So we don't allow any phones or other electronics. So it's a week where kids are not connected to devices. They're not gaming. They are just kind of with their peers and doing some traditional games and activities that don't require the use of electronics. Students also have an opportunity to choose electives, which is a great opportunity for them to learn about their interests. So they pick classes in science or outdoor skills or engineering and humanities. We also focus on teamwork throughout the entire week, and we talk to them about being a part of a community and what we can do to be a part of a community. And we also encourage students to try some things that are outside of their comfort zone. And for some students, being outside is something that's a little bit outside of their comfort zone, or being active throughout the day and going for hikes is outside their comfort zone. And for some of our students, being away from home for the week is outside of their comfort zone. But for everyone, it's a growth experience. So I'm going to kind of talk you through kind of from day one through the schedule of it, and then we'll get into some of the details about the cost at the end. So our transportation going to Nature's Classroom is just a regular school bus. Students arrive on that Monday that we're going to leave about the regular school time with all their luggage. And you may have seen it if you drop off your children that we collect luggage outside by the basketball hoops. And we take all their luggage. We leave Fowler around 9 o'clock in the morning. And we travel by school bus to Nature's Classroom about 30 minutes away. And we put all of the luggage in a U-Haul. And Miss Travers drives that U-Haul safely with all their luggage. So while we're at Nature's Classroom, we stay there overnight, Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. And then on Friday, we start our morning at Nature's Classroom. We have lunch there, and then we take the school bus back to Fowler. And our luggage once again comes back via U-Haul. And we arrive back at Fowler before dismissal time. So we want the students, when they return, to be able to head home before the chaos of the end of the day. And so what typically happens is that we have a sea of parents waiting for the bus to arrive with all the students and luggage. And we dismiss the students right to parents as soon as we arrive back to Fowler. And that's typically around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. While at Nature's Classroom, we follow a pretty scheduled routine. We wake everyone up around 7 a.m. and we encourage everyone to shower daily. And then they have breakfast from 8 to 9. It's actually a nice leisurely breakfast every morning for an hour where kids are able to talk with each other and they sit in the groups. And then they go outside on a field group experience. And so that's some hiking and some outdoor experiences. And then we come back together for lunch from 12 to 1. Once again, a nice leisurely lunch where the kids can talk together about their experiences. And then in the afternoon, kids are typically picking out classes that are interesting to them that they want to take. And then we have dinner at 5:30 to 6:30, another hour meal. And then we do evening activities to from 7 o'clock at night to about 9 o'clock. Sometimes it's 8:30, depending on how busy our day was. And then in the cabins, we do lights out at 10 p.m. or a little bit earlier if the kids need it. So at Nature's Classroom, we bring teachers and paraprofessionals from Fowler with us, and then we also meet Nature's Classroom teachers there. And so when we're staying at Nature's Classroom, we have two types of accommodations. There are dormitories that hold about 40 to 50 students in the entire building, with about 2 to 6 students per room. And then there are also cabins that hold about 10 to 12 students, with about 4 to 6 students in those rooms. There are some shared bathrooms, meaning that there might be a bathroom in dormitories that are shared between the 2 students who live in a room, where each room has like its own suite with its own bathroom. In the cabins, there are 2 to 3 bathrooms that are shared with the 10 students that are in there. And Fowler staff chaperones the dormitories in the cabins. And so we stay in a room in the building, but we don't stay in the same room as the students. So in a cabin, there may be 3 rooms. Students are staying in 2 of those rooms, and then Fowler staff is staying in the 3rd room. In the dormitories, there are typically maybe 4 to 5 staff who are in those dorms. So we operate on a 1 to 10 ratio. So there's at least one Fowler staff for every 10 students who are in the dorms in cabins. Oh, let me backtrack a little bit. When you look at the dorms and the cabins, they are some bunk beds and single beds. They have some typical kind of camp mattresses or similar to like some college mattresses. They are just twin size mattresses that students sleep on. And there are often some common areas in the dorms where kids just kind of hang out. So while students are at Nature's Classroom, they have breakfast, lunch, and dinner there in a dining hall. And it's family style dining, meaning that the trays of food come to the table and students just help themselves to as much food as they care to eat. The dining hall can accommodate any sort of dietary restrictions that are commonly occurring in our students. So gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, and vegetarian are all dietary restrictions that I let the chef know ahead of time, like in the weeks before we go. And they make sure that they prepare meals that have options for students who have these dietary restrictions. The entire dining facility is nut-free, peanut-free, and tree nut-free. And so that is a very easy allergy to accommodate. And as part of the meal process, students take turns setting up and cleaning up the tables for each other. They talk about food waste. They talk about like packaging in foods and like what it takes, to get food to come to us. And they really just work on having conversations together at a table. So there are some pretty typical kid-friendly meals that occur for some lunches. There might be like tacos or burgers or hot dogs or like a chicken patty or grilled cheese. For breakfast, once again, it's like pretty kid-friendly, pancakes, French toast. There might be bacon or sausage. And for dinner, we've had pizza, we've had steak and potatoes or chicken and rice or pork chops. And then there's also a salad bar for lunch and for dinner. And then for breakfast, there's usually cereal and yogurt options as well, so that students have different options for what they can eat. And for all the meals for the students is all they care to eat. So they fill up at their meals, and then we head out to some outdoor activities. And so some outdoor activities are some field groups where they go on hikes. They might do games outside. They might do different team building activities. And as you can see in these photos, we go outside if the weather is good, and we go outside if it's raining as well. And so ponchos are something that kids get very comfortable wearing if they have a rainy week at Nature's Classroom. There's also a challenge course, which is one of the team building activities that students work on, where they're trying to work together to accomplish some different goals. And so it's a low ropes course if you've had students who have gone to camps previously. Other outdoor activities is that we give kids time to just hang out with each other and just relax. And so we have free time built into each day. There's multiple opportunities for some free time. There are fields for kids to hang out at. There are little wooded areas nearby. And there's also a gym that, weirdly enough, has a carpet in it where kids play basketball or they play soccer. And then we also give kids some snacks during transition time. And so transition time is sort of like a recess time where they can be outside supervised by Fowler staff, or they could also take a nap in their buildings, which happens as well when Fowler staff is chaperoning those as well. So during the classes that students take, we ask them about what their interests are, and then they sign up for classes. Some of our most popular classes are about building bridges. They learn how to make a bridge out of rope that they can crawl across or climb across. And then they also learn about how to make like an arch bridge and talking about what a keystone does in bridge making. Other classes might have them explore around the lake that's there. They might also learn about forest fires, or they might learn about cooking techniques out in the wilderness. We do offer dissections at Nature's Classroom, which is not something that we can offer here at Fowler as part of our science curriculum. And so for dissections, we've had dissections of snakes, or we've had a dissection of a goat's eye, I think, a fish, a shark, an octopus, so many different types of dissections. Nobody is ever forced to be a part of a dissection, but if kids are interested, we make sure they have an opportunity to do that. We also go outside at night for different activities. Nobody's ever outside at night on their own. We always travel together in a group with one or more adults. And so night activities are just a great time to just experience nature in a little bit different ways. Sometimes we do different activities outside that are just because our day is long. And so we try to fill in as much as we can. And so here are some other just science fair activities that just look cooler when they're done at night as well. So if there is bad weather, we will utilize some indoor spaces for different classes. And so there are the gym, as I mentioned before. There's also common areas in different buildings below the dining hall, in different places among the property. So if the rain was particularly bad, we would be inside. Or if there were thunderstorms, we wouldn't stay outside. We would be inside for different classes and different activities. And so we do have some important supplies that students need to bring. So as I showed you before, in the dormitories, students get a bed that has a mattress, and that is all. So they need to bring their own bedding, like a pillow and sleeping bag, or a pillow and sheets and blanket. They also need to be prepared for the outdoors. And so a winter coat, hat, gloves. Even if your child doesn't currently wear a winter coat, they're going to want one when they're out at Nature's Classroom, just because you spend a lot of time outside. And the best way to make sure that your child has a good time at Nature's Classroom is making sure that they're comfortable and warm enough. Also boots and shoes that can get muddy. We go on hikes on trails in the woods, and so those are often muddy and sometimes a little bit swampy. We also give every student a shower time, either in the morning or at night. And so they need to bring supplies to shower regularly. And then they need a backpack to carry with them because they're going to carry a water bottle with them. So one of the things we emphasize is staying hydrated. And so we encourage kids to bring a water bottle that's full with them when we go off on our day and refill it often. We do have some items that are not allowed. So as I mentioned at the beginning, that this is an unplugged week. And so no electronics. So that means no cell phones, no smartwatches, no video game consoles or anything like that. We want students to be unplugged and be living in the moment. We also don't allow candy or outside food for a number of reasons. One is, as I mentioned, is that we would need to be aware of all of the food allergies. And so we don't want any sort of candy being exchanged. We also emphasize being healthy and making healthy choices. And so candy is not really one of the ways that's going to best give us energy when we need to be busy all week long. And we also don't want any outside food because we are up against the woods and we don't want any squirrels or chipmunks making their way into the cabins because they smell some food in someone's luggage. So these are the general items that are not allowed. While at Nature's Classroom, there's a nurse who's there 24 hours, who's there just for us, for our students. And they administer medications in the morning, afternoon, dinner, bedtime, whenever medications are required. They also provide the care for minor injuries and illnesses throughout the day and overnight. So if somebody's not feeling well, then they'll see the nurse. If somebody's not feeling well overnight, the nurse will come out to our cabin and check in with them. If they get some scrapes or anything, that they would be called as well. And they just monitor students in general for illness, for not feeling well. And if there is some concern about your child not feeling well or being injured, then the nurse would then contact you about that. So the cost for this trip, for this 5 days and 4 nights, it's $465. And so we recommend creating a payment plan, and this works well for most families, to break down the cost into 3 payments. So you do $155 3 times over the next year or so. If you want to talk about alternative payment plans, you're going to reach out to Mr. Kinney about that. He has information about financial aid if needed. So you just send him an email, and that's a conversation between you and Mr. Kinney. So the payment plan that we recommend is turning in a payment on March 3rd, a second payment on March 1st, and a third payment in October, which would be your final payment for that. And so for this cost, we want to make sure that we know if students want to attend. And so we ask that you make that first payment because it allows us to pay our deposit to Nature's Classroom as well. So the way that we book our time at Nature's Classroom is with a deposit, but this trip is funded by the parents. So if your child's interested in going, then please make that first payment by March 3rd so that we can pay the deposit for this trip. So you have been doing some fundraising, perhaps. We want all students to have the opportunity to attend. And so the Flower Power fundraising is something that you may have heard about earlier this week. I think your student should have brought home a paper about it, and then Ms. Travers has emailed you. So Flower Power fundraising is one of our best fundraisers because it offers students to earn back 50% of what they sell, and that just gets deducted from your Nature's Classroom cost. You don't deliver anything to any people. It gets shipped directly to those people who order from it. And it's for like planting and gardening in springtime. And so we love doing this one around this time when it's snowy and cold so that we can start thinking about springtime and what that means. And so, but once again, in addition to the fundraising that we encourage everyone to try to do is to talk to Mr. Kinney if you have any questions about financial aid. So one more thing about Flower Power is that runs until March 10th, and we will subtract it from your final deposit. So after March, we'll let you know what you have earned and we'll subtract it from your second payment, and we'll let you know how much you owe for your second payment and third payment, and how much you earned on that fundraiser as well. So some next steps: participate in the Flower Power fundraiser, make your first payment by March 3rd. And checks work out well, or cash. We just say if you're going to send cash in with your child, that you send us an email so we know to ask them for it. And also remind your child if you give them a check, that you check their backpack. We have had times where we've done locker clean out at the end of the night, and that is when we get the checks. We find the checks, or sorry, not at the end of the year, and that's when we find those checks. And they're like, oh, we were supposed to give that to your teacher months ago. And so if you have a specific question about your child's experience at Nature's Classroom and like what it would be like, reach out to myself or Miss Travers, and we can help you out with that. Okay. So later on, we'll have a later payment in May, and then the final payment in October. You'll receive a registration packet, packing list. We ask students who they want to be with for their different groups in October. Who do they want to have as a roommate, and who they want for dining tables and field groups. And so we ask them all of those things, and then we make groups based upon who they feel like they want to be with and who would make them have a positive experience. So once again, questions that you would want to ask us about or talk to us about specifically for your child. If you're worried that your child's going to be missing home at all during that experience, please reach out to us. If you have a picky eater or you're worried about some dietary concerns about allergies, let us know. If there's some behavioral or social concerns that you're worried about, reach out to us as well. And then anything about like medications or medical concerns. So those are all kind of independent conversations that we will have prior to the trip. So just reach out to us and then we'll start talking about your child's experience then. Okay, I think that's the end of my presentation. And now I'll turn it over. Ms. Travers, anything I forgot?
No, I think you're good. Try the fundraisers. You know what I'd like to add, because it's a fantastic one and it really, really helps.
Yeah. And then Mr. Kinney, anything else?
No, I know that you've mentioned reaching out to me for financial aid if any families need that. We do everything that we physically can to make sure that every student has this experience. We've been very successful with that. What I will say is if you do reach out to me for financial aid, what I always do is I return your question or your request with a question back from me. And that's typically about, how much can you afford? We ask that everybody tries to donate something because our financial aid often can get very, very hefty in terms of cost. And we want to make sure that, everybody has the opportunity. If the 3 payments are too large for you at a time and you're just a person that is better at throwing $20 a month or $30 a month over, feel free to do that as well. We've got 3 actually master accountants, Miss Sullivan, Miss Travers, and Miss Luciato in the office. If you're ever worried about, whether your payment made it to us or not, like Miss Sullivan said, send us an email, we'll confirm it. That can act as a receipt. That's always a good thing, especially if you're sending in cash. We do typically try to wait a week or two. So Miss Luciato gets a good chunk of checks. Other than that, she basically what I'm saying is she doesn't go to the bank every day. So we have had some returned checks. I want people to be aware that it may take a week or two or perhaps a little longer. So, I don't write checks in my house, and I know checks are rare and often many families. So balance that as best you can. And that's really all I got. And if you have any other questions that I can answer, please also feel free to reach out to me as well.
Yeah, one thing about the payments is that the process of how payments work in the school district is that it really goes through 3 different offices. So it can take up to 3 weeks for a check to clear coming into us. And so that's why we have the due dates for the different payments. I mean, we'll accept payments for the trip at any point in time. So if there's a time that works out better for you, a month that works out better for you, like sometimes for people, like after they receive a tax return, they like to send out the check. We are flexible in that way. We just have the due dates to try to, like Mr. Kinney said, gather as many checks as we can, so we can try to streamline the payment process as well for there. So I do, yeah.
Do you mind if I throw one more thing in that I just thought of?
No, please.
Over the past 2 years, what some parents have provided some feedback on is bank checks or like purchase orders. Because it comes right out of your account, and even if it takes us 6 weeks to cash that check, it's already gone out of your account and it's in our hands. So I've had several parents ask me about that because that just worked better for them.
Yes. And one other thing about just financial aid is that the PTO, the Fowler PTO, has just been so great to us in helping us make sure that every student can attend. So one of the things that you can always do is make sure that you're supporting our PTO and their PTO events, because they're the ones who really help us be able to get everyone to go. So that's another way to really help them participate. I just had a moment where I just previewed some questions that people have. So do 100% of students go every year? And I would say no, but we encourage them to give it a try. And we talk to students and parents about like, well, what's something that they're worried about? And oftentimes we can come up with something that makes it a little bit more doable for them or make them feel more comfortable about doing it. Students who do not attend the trip, they form a cohort at school and they travel together and do different activities together to build that teamwork and to try out different experiences that they may not usually be able to do. So if you feel like your student may not be interested in attending, the first conversation we'd like to have is what are the things that are maybe preventing them from saying yes to this trip? And then the next thing we would say is like, what can we do to help make it an option for them? And think about, are there any possibilities we can try? But then we do have a program that we do at the school, activities for the students who do stay at Fowler for that week as well. Okay, I think that's it for me. So I find that it works better. Once again, if you have any questions that you come up with throughout the week or really throughout the next few months, please reach out and email us. This recording is going to get emailed out to everybody. So if a parent had asked you to take notes for them because they weren't going to make it, don't worry, I've got you covered. I'm going to send out this recording. It has the slideshow in it as well. So that way you can always review the information as well. And I think that's it for us. Okay. So I'm going to end this recording and we're going to sign off. And then we hope to hear some questions from you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.